you really hate Sean Combs.
Why would they be thinking that?
Because of the things that you post on Instagram,
Look
at
this. And let's stop for a second and do say that I hated him enough to hire his kids, and we've never done anything to each other. So it's just competitive energy and things that you say about other artists while you're in hip. Because there's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. He says, you're going to find out, like how I'll handle this. And that's an attorney want to be combative with another attorney. That's not like a publicist would say those things.
But one time walking in the studio and, it was like a small gap and, bleak beans. Everybody was in there and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now. Just flood it, put out a lot of music because 50.
Behind closed doors. Sources say 50C pushed to bring forward footage and statements he claims tied Jay-Z to troubling actions connected to Diddy, not loose gossip, but pointed accusations suggesting knowledge, potential participation, and efforts to keep certain truths buried. Rather than retreat or soften his stance, 50 stood firm, later confirming the material is real and in his possession. He didn't backpedal, didn't do, and made it clear the footage exists and he has it.
I know, 50, the way you run, this cannot be all that you have. Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make it was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot.
Sources familiar with the matter say the real weight of the footage is what it allegedly suggests that Jay-Z was aware questionable actions were unfolding around him and failed to step in. Even more disturbing, they claim hints he may have gained from staying silent while others suffered. If proven true, the implications would stretch far beyond poor judgment and into serious legal territory. The unanswered question now is the scale. Just how many people were affected?
How many victims?
There was none for her.
How many victims potentially do you think there could be?
Thousands. Thousands. I've talked to hundreds that I deal with still myself. I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, strengthened a narrative by claiming Jay-Z and Diddy were far tighter than Jay-Z's attorneys later portrayed. Not passing associates or arm's-length partners, but close enough to understand what was happening privately. That backdrop is why conversations about serious legal risk surfaced. The allegations suggest Jay-Z didn't just miss red flags. He allegedly knew, allegedly stayed quiet, and that people in the orbit were reportedly influenced or pressured to keep things out of sight. If any of that were ever proven, it could touch areas tied to interference or coordinated concealment. When Jaguar Wright later echoed similar claims in public interviews, those appearances were quickly removed from multiple platforms. She kept speaking anyway. Not long after, her son was tragically killed in a shooting, a heartbreaking event some observers mention, while also stressing that no verified or legal link to her statements has ever been established.
Because he was my son.
He died because of your
He was targeted because he's my son.
He
was working on his EP. I bought Philadelphia for him so he didn't have to sign to a company because I knew what it was going to do. He interned at Rock Nation. And they approached him to sacrifice me. I saw his death when he was 19. I moved us here to stop it, to prevent it, to avoid it. They take them anyway to show you what the harm is. Right. Giovanni, his death is why I do what I do.
Clips reportedly vanished, discussions allegedly wiped, and the same pattern of quiet removal is said to have followed the documentary. 2. Now, the story is resurfacing with claims that 50 Cent is digging back into the past and bringing Jaguar Wright forward to publicly revisit what she calls a long trail of serious misconduct. Among her most explosive assertions are questions surrounding Aaliyah's death, not as proven fact, but as concerns, she insists, were never thoroughly examined. When Wright speaks on Aaliyah, she keeps circling one powerful point. Why was there never a full, transparent investigation? Not limited, not brushed aside, but in her view, never truly pursued at the depth such a tragedy deserved.
It was never investigated. Hype was never questioned. Lenny Kravitz made a statement, and it was never publicized. She was unconscious. She didn't choose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs. Why would you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement about a plane crash and what happened leading up to it? Please, someone answer that.
Do you feel like
why the fuck would you need to sign? A nigga don't ask about a plane crash if it was accidental.
Do you feel like...
Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Work with me here in this moment.
And I'm going to ask you.
A plane crash should be accidental.
Should be.
Why would any testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't?
From her perspective, NDAs aren't about privacy. They're about control. Jaguar Wright argues they become tools used to lock the truth away when someone doesn't want certain details to ever surface. She alleges that more than 25 confidentiality agreements were quietly signed and financially settled after Aaliyah's death, claiming those documents weren't just paperwork. They were meant to silence what people saw, what they knew, and what allegedly happened before the plane ever took off. That's why she keeps circling back to the same question. Why? And it's right when she presses that question the hardest, when the story gets uncomfortable, that she brings Jay-Z's name into the conversation.
Carter, now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
Okay.
There were over 25 non-disclosure agreements cashed out and recorded regarding the death of that beautiful girl and every other human being that died on that plane with her. What the fuck? What would you need a nigga don't ask for that? And Diddy had Hype Williams the balls. Belly was a money pit.
Question.
And Jay-Z got 10 free videos out of Williams.
In Jaguar's view, none of it was accidental, and nothing happened by chance. She believes influence was traded behind the scenes, silence was rewarded, and people with inside knowledge were financially encouraged to stay quiet. And from her perspective, that's exactly why Jay-Z's name almost never surfaces in public conversations about Aaliyah's passing, despite the questions she insists have been lingering for years.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who was a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who was a victim of Sean Combs. are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it.
Jaguar Wright's position is blunt and heavy. She argues that if Aaliyah's death had truly been nothing more than a heartbreaking accident, there would have been no need for strict silence, legal pressure, or alleged financial settlements afterward. She points to Jay-Z's rapid rise in the years that followed, paired with how quickly public questioning seemed to disappear, as a major reason she believes his name deserves real scrutiny. After the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, the race for rap's top spot narrowed, and in many people's eyes it came down to Nas versus Jay-Z. And from Jaguar's perspective, that period marked the moment the industry started tilting hard in Jay-Z's favor. She claims Nas gradually lost momentum while Jay-Z kept climbing, release after release, move after move, until his dominance became impossible to ignore. At the same time, Jay-Z was collaborating closely with R. Kelly across songs and tours, and Jaguar alleges both men had connections within Aaliyah's circle. In her view, these weren't separate stories crossing by coincidence. They were overlapping ties inside one tightly connected industry world, where relationships, power, and silence often moved together.
Saw Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both fucked Aaliyah. They shared so much in common. You know? And then there was a falling out. And that's like it never happened. Whoever talks about best of the both worlds, best of both worlds. Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody talks about that project.
That nigga swept that smooth under the rug.
Why?
Yeah, we know why.
You know what? I got a better question.
Yeah.
How valuable is a Biggie Smalls verse?
Yeah.
Can you put value?
Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive. People keep forgetting he hadn't turned 25 yet. He was still 24 when he died. It's been over 25 years. Fucking Puffy has been making money on that boy's name longer than he can live. It supported all of Bad Boy. His catalog. Clearly, a Biggie Smalls verse is very valuable. Am I wrong? Does anybody disagree with me?
No, that's facts.
So then what the fuck happened to the commission? What happened to that album?
Right.
It was recorded. It was being mixed and mastered upon Biggie's death. It was supposed to have came out that summer after Biggie's album because Biggie's album was slated. He died a week and a half before his album came out. Then the commission was supposed to come out, and that was supposed to be his exit from Bad Boy. And then starting his own company. So tell me something. And this ain't me being an asshole. I think everybody that knows Sean Carter knows that he will slump anyone in any relationship.
She also points to what she believes is a clear pattern. Jay-Z eventually distancing himself from key figures who helped raise him up in the early days. Using Dame Dash as her main example, she argues the collapse of their partnership wasn't just normal business drama, but a calculated move that revealed how determined Jay-Z was to secure power, consolidate control, and protect the empire he was building. And in her view, it showed that once he reached a certain level, loyalty became optional, even if it meant cutting off the same people who once stood right beside him.
If I'm trying to sell something, him and his lawyers, Alex Shapiro, putting a false lawsuit on me, like like that, devaluing anything that I have or trying to sell. But, or even down to like, we were selling Rockware, right, for like $400 million or whatever. I was going to make $40 million. And right before Tommy Hilfiger signs the papers, he makes an announcement saying that he's not fucking with Rockwell, that he's only fucking with S. Carter. The whole shit up. And I just feel like he did that only because I was going to make $40 million. Like, he just couldn't see, like, they get so mad if I'm going to make money off them. Like, every time I could have made a really big check, he's always stepped in and intentionally fucked it up. Every time. Listen, don't ask me, ask the rest of the industry. Like, you know, that's why I got the fuck away. I mean, one of the reasons. Like Jay, I like the way I would look at it, like if you could compare him to like a character now, I'd say he's like the Penguin. He's like ruthless like that with his friends or people that help him. At least that's how.
Awa then circles the conversation back to Aaliyah, saying her death came at a moment when multiple major careers were shifting at the exact same time. She points out that in the aftermath, Jay-Z's power and visibility kept expanding, while other key figures slowly slipped out of focus. And to her, years of watching the industry operate made certain patterns impossible to ignore. She argues that through every controversy, every upheaval, and every wave of fallout, the same name kept resurfacing. Asterisk, asterisk, still standing, still protected, still untouched. Asterisk, asterisk, while others around him faded, fell, or took the hit.
Aaliyah died. And then they brought Rich Harrison in, and you know, got me thinking some crazy right now. She liked posing with him in pictures for Page 6. Aaliyah didn't. She fell in love with Dane. And Aaliyah's gone, and, you know. You have to start asking yourself questions after being in this business for this long. If you're a halfway intelligent person, when do you start questioning how lucky some motherfuckers keep getting?
Right.
Is it really a conspiracy if the same person keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over and over again? So to answer your question, I'm sure he's always going to be a billionaire, and I'm sure he's got great things to happen. I mean, look, he's got the job with the NFL. He's hooking all his friends up with the halftime shows. I mean, think about it. Think about the halftime shows. Jennifer Lopez, Shakira, all Rock Nation. Now Rihanna, and then we had the whole LA thing, which of course he was involved in that, and then they pulled Mary J. Blige off to, you know, make sure she got that money for Kendall, and you know, they had that whole moment, you know, but all he's doing is using his friends and the people that he fucks with, or at least the people that signs his non-disclosure agreements, he keeps getting them the Super Bowl gigs. So I mean, like, he's doing all kinds of stuff, you know, and I do not begrudge him. It's just, if you got to do the kind of things that he's done to get where he's gotten.
Jaguar Wright also raises concerns about what she describes as a long-avoided topic involving Jay-Z and very young artists, pointing to Rihanna as a major example. She claims that when Rihanna first entered the industry, she was still a minor, yet was treated less like a teenager who needed protection and structure, and more like a commercial asset being fast-tracked to the top. According to Wright, powerful figures within Jay-Z's orbit played a key role in placing Rihanna into high-profile industry spaces, private gatherings, and environments she believes were inappropriate for someone her age. And she frames it as more than bad judgment or coincidence. She calls it a deliberate pattern, one that she says exposes how young talent was handled behind closed doors.
Explained how Rihanna was sold to Jay-Z at 16 years old. She explained how it was super sketchy that Rihanna got brought to America at only 16 years old without any parental supervision, and how she auditioned for Jay-Z at 3 o'clock in the morning. She explained how it didn't make sense that Rihanna's parents would let her fly by herself after just meeting Evan Roberts all the way to America to meet with Jay-Z in the middle of the night. And she alleged that Rihanna's dad got a $500,000 payout for letting this happen. She alleged since this was all out of the blue, Rihanna would have had to flown on a private plane to get from Barbados to America because she wouldn't have had a visa and her parents were not around with her to fly to America. And Rihanna even explained how Jay-Z would not let her leave until she signed the recording contract, and the label locked her in the office until 3 a.m.
You've gone through some big changes since you've been signed at Def Jam. Can you tell me what are the biggest changes you've gone through from St. Michael's, Barbados until now you being a superstar?
Well, one of them for sure is being away from my friends and family. After growing up around my mom and all my friends for 17 years and then moving to a big city with no one because all my family and friends are still in Barbados. So after moving to a big city with basically around strangers, that was the hardest thing for me to cope with at first.
Are you lonely sometimes?
I wasn't lonely, but I really do miss my family and my friends.
And a lot of people have speculated this for years about Rihanna because people found it super weird. Right before Jay-Z signed Rihanna, he was working heavily with a 16-year-old Tierra Marie who signed to Def Jam by L.A. Reid. And after a while, there was rumors circulating all over that Tierra Marie and Rihanna actually had a fallout because Rihanna's career skyrocketed and Tierra Marie got let go from Def Jam. And allegedly, Tierra Marie is the Jane Doe that is suing Diddy and L.A. Reid for SA when she was just...
Jonathan Hay, who worked in public relations during that era, echoes pieces of that story through what he says he witnessed firsthand. He recalls that many people around Rihanna assumed she was older than she really was, and that she was regularly brought into clubs and high-level industry spaces where age verification was supposed to be required. According to him, it wasn't until one specific night, when she couldn't produce ID, that people finally realized she was only 17. Jaguar Wright argues that by that point, the damage was already done. She claims Rihanna's early team, the people she believes were more grounded and protective, were gradually pushed out and replaced with new management, while anyone who raised concerns quietly began losing opportunities. Hay describes it as a familiar industry tactic, not an obvious blacklist, but a silent freeze, where the work dries up, doors close without warning, and communication doesn't explode into conflict, it simply disappears.